So I think a lot of people thought when you bought Twitter that this is kind of an outlier. Like, what doesn't fit with these other things you're doing? I never thought that. Because I think you're dealing with big civilizational issues and problems, and I was right on your page. I think Twitter is one of them. I mean, you have talked about this woke mind virus.
Yes.
In really apocalyptic terms.
Yes.
You should explain why you don't think it's hyperbole to say things like it's pushing civilization towards suicide. First of all, what is the woke mind virus? And if we don't deal with this, nothing else can get done. Tell me why you think that.
Wait until you hear what Elon Musk had to say about wokeness. It was absolutely brilliant, and it left Bill Maher speechless. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and we're going to analyze not only Elon's diagnosis of the woke mind virus, but we're going to see precisely how he's fighting back and guaranteeing the end of all things woke.
This woke mind virus, how did it start? Was it bats? Was it a escape from a lab? I mean, what is your assessment of what? Because it's fairly recent. How did it start and why?
I was trying to figure out where it's coming from. I think it's actually been a long time brewing. In that I think it's been going on for a while. The amount of indoctrination that's happening in schools and universities is, I think, far beyond what parents realize. And I sort of came to realize this somewhat late. The experience that we had in high school and college is not the experience that kids today are having, and hasn't been for, I don't know, 10 years, maybe 20 years.
Now, unfortunately, Elon didn't quite answer the question of where the woke mind virus started. And no, it wasn't with bats, but that was great. The actual ideas that constitute wokeness go back to the first half of the 20th century in an academic movement known as the Frankfurt School, which was a group of European academics who eventually came over to the United States to escape Hitler, but they brought their cultural Marxist ideas to the American university. And for various reasons, the ideas flourished in universities across the nation. And at the heart of the Frankfurt School's ideology is this notion of critical theory, which teaches students how to supposedly expose everything in our culture, from our politics to our economics to our entertainment to our fashion, you name it, as inherently racist, sexist, and homophobic. And that's the key to wokeness. Wokeness, in effect, recasts everything in society as comprised of two groups of people, an oppressor group and an oppressed group. And we know who belongs to which group based on our race, our gender, and our sexual orientation. And eventually, critical theory entered into our K-12 classrooms through the broader notion of what's called critical pedagogy, from which we get what's called CRT, or critical race theory. But that developed into critical gender theory, eventually into critical sex theory. So that's the origin of the woke mind virus.
Aren't parents themselves also a big part of the problem?
Well, I suppose in some cases that parents, but I think the parents are just generally not aware of what their kids are being taught, or what they're not being taught.
But they're letting the kids think that they're equal.
I mean, yeah. Let me give you an example that a friend of mine told me, which his daughters go to college go to high school in the Bay Area, and he was asking them, like, well, so who are the first few presidents of the United States? They could name Washington, and I said, well, what do you know about him? Well, he was a slave owner. What else?
Right. Exactly.
Nothing.
Right.
Like, okay, maybe you should know more than that. Yeah.
Yeah. That is the woke mind virus. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, the key to that answer, that the only thing that student knew about George Washington was that he was a slave owner, is how it reveals the centrality of victimhood in the cultural Marxist worldview. Victimhood has a twofold purpose in wokeness. Victimhood incorporates all minority cultures, all minority races, sexualities, an increasing number of genders into a single shared identity, that of the victim. And at the same time, victimhood denigrates the dominant culture as an agent of racial, gender, and sexual oppression. So this is why the only thing we need to know about Washington, or any other founding father for that matter, was how they fulfilled the agency of oppression. There's literally nothing more needed to know. That's how radical our education system has become. But wait until you see what Elon had to say about free speech, because in many respects, that's the key to destroying this woke mind virus. What if I told you there was a small group of investors who wildly outperformed the market? Well, there is, and you know exactly who they are. Corrupt politicians like Nancy Pelosi and establishment senators have been using their security clearances and exclusive knowledge to their advantage in the market for decades now. They know when sales are up. They know what earnings are going to be. They know about legislation, incoming Fed changes, you name it, a whole host of other inside baseball tips that gives them an unfair advantage when picking stocks. When these bigwigs make moves, odds are they know something. But thanks to a little-known SEC database, guess what? We can see what and when these people are buying. Not only do we get to see it in real time, but we get to piggyback on their trades to gain the same advantage for ourselves perfectly legally and ethically. My friend Ross Givens has been tracking insider trading for years, and his recommendations have led to investment returns of over 200%. Some have hit as high as nearly 1,500%. And according to him, there's no better way to beat the market. Now it's your turn. Click on that link below right now and learn how you too can learn to trade like Pelosi. Click on that link and learn how to gain an insider advantage for yourself.
I really can't emphasize this enough. We must protect free speech. And free speech only matters, it's only relevant when it's someone you don't like saying something you don't like, because obviously speech that you like is,
yes,
it's easy. So it's the thing about censorship is that, sure, for those who would advocate it, just remember, at some point, that will be turned on you.
The key to freedom of speech is that it ultimately secures the freedom of thought. I mean, Jordan Peterson has long argued this, that there's essentially no difference between speech and thought, precisely because so much of our thought is organized verbally, right? And this is so profound because it's not merely the notion that what we think is expressed in words. Peterson argues that so much of what we think is in terms of words. Words constitute our thoughts. We ask ourselves questions all the time, and we do so to actually get answers from our consciences. And so if that's true, what woke cancel culture has actually been trying to do in their relentless stifling of our free speech is they're actually trying to stifle our thought. That's why we call it the woke mind virus. It's the woke mind virus because all of the attempts to silence free speech are ultimately attempts at silencing what Orwell called wrongthink. We're guilty of verbally expressing thoughts that woke leftist ideologues have the utterly despicable, repulsive gall to claim we're not allowed to think. And so countering the woke mind virus obviously involves making room for free thought, which itself involves effectively shutting down their attempts at undermining free speech.
You and I are both like in that little group of people, maybe it's a bigger group now, who are called conservative, who haven't really changed. I don't think of you as a conservative.
I'm definitely, like I at least think of myself as a moderate, so, I mean, at least I've spent a massive amount of my life energy building sustainable energy, electric vehicles and batteries and solar and stuff to help save the environment. That's not a,
No.
It's not exactly far right.
No, you drew that diagram once where you're here. I related to that, and like the world has changed.
Right.
I feel the same way. I feel like very often wokeness is not building on liberalism. It's the opposite of liberalism. I can mention.
Yes, exactly.
Now, again, Bill Maher is absolutely right here. The Atlantic, which has degenerated into nothing less than a complete woke shill, has publicly labeled Elon Musk as far right. And that's just the tip of the iceberg among legacy media outlets attempting to disparage Musk. And the same goes for Bill Maher. I mean, he's now often labeled as conservative or far right among the woke ilk out there. But as he alluded to, Elon once tweeted out a graph that shows the dynamics of what's more commonly known as the Overton window, which defines the range of acceptable political opinion. And the graph shows how over the last 10 years, the far left has so shifted the Overton window that those who once found themselves on the center left are now increasingly, by virtue of the fact that their politics haven't changed, they're now increasingly finding themselves on the center right. Welcome home, guys. And that ultimately is the hope here. The farther the left woke mind virus pulls its adherents, the greater percentage of the population they leave behind. The more political opinions the woke left tries to cancel, the more they guarantee their own exile to the political periphery. No one's demonstrating that dynamic more than Elon Musk, and his restoration of free speech on Twitter is turning out to be nothing less than the front lines of wokeness's inevitable demise. As always, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. You'll definitely want to check out my latest video on what happened at the Satanic Temple gathering over the weekend. You're not going to believe it, so make sure to click on that link, and I'll see you over there. God bless.